coming into your comfortable seat this morning. Find a place that works for you. And if you happen to have blocks, blocks will be handy in one of the poses, but they're not necessary. And a blanket's always a good idea. Find a place where you can rest comfortably on the earth, whether your legs are crossed, straight out in front of you, out to each side, or maybe you're kneeling. Whatever works for your body. Take a moment to adjust the alignment of your torso and your head. We often are leaning forward and particularly lifting our chins and pushing forward with them. See if you can bring your chin inward slightly so that there is some length in the back of the neck, so that the ears roughly are on top of the shoulders. And that way the head is more balanced. And when it's more balanced, it's not such a heavy weight for us. Relax the shoulders. Give them a little roll if you need to. And let the whole body begin to feel light and heavy at the same time. The heaviness is the bones settling down, sinking towards the earth. The lightness is our internal organs, our fascia, lifting and giving us our shape. This morning we're going to be working with a Hatha yin practice for the nervous system. So for our nerves, helping to guide the nerves to glide through the muscles. And to begin with, we're going to start with box breathing. If you think about the shape of a box, you've got 4 sides to it. We're going to inhale up one side, hold the breath or retain it along the top edge, exhale down the other side, and then hold the breath out. Working towards equal length with the 4 sides, but if it's easier for you to do more of a rectangular shaped breath, where the inhale and exhale are longer and the holds are shorter, then work with that. So you've got to find your own appropriate rhythm, and if you feel lightheaded or dizzy at all, discontinue your breathing practice and return to normal breathing. You can leave your eyes open or you can close the eyes. And we'll start the practice simply focusing on our breathing, where our breathing is for us right now, not trying to change it. Just notice the breath's natural rhythm. And then as you watch the breath, see if you can encourage it to an even count in and out. I'm going to suggest a count of 3, but you may be longer than that. I want to keep it more on the short side so that it's not an effort. Inhaling to a count of 3 or maybe 4 or 5. And exhaling to that same count. Not putting a pause into your breath here. Simply finding an even inhalation and exhalation. As you get more comfortable with this even inhale and exhale, see if you can begin to lengthen it towards a count of 5. Do less if less is better for you, or more if more is better, but try and find somewhere around a 5 count. Inhaling gently for a count of 5, and then exhaling for a count of 5. When you get comfortable with that, we're going to start to bring the pause in. And I'd suggest you start with a count of 3 for your pause, regardless of how long your in or out breath is. So if you inhale for a count of 5, pause for a count of 3, exhaling for a count of 5, and then pause again for a count of 3. Keep that rhythm going. Trying to find your own balance. When you're pausing, try not to be really tight with holding. Try not to lock the throat, but let it simply be a cessation of movement rather than a holding in or a holding out. Make it as soft as you possibly can. Let the whole torso be involved with the breath. If you've ever watched a baby lying and breathing, their whole body breathes with them. They're like little frogs' bellies expanding and contracting around the torso. Relax enough that you can let the same breath practice happen. The whole torso, the whole container, front, sides, back, expands on the in-breath, pauses in the space between, and then gently recoils on the out-breath. Very important when playing with the breath that you don't force, that you're not making the breath do what you want, but inviting it to work into a certain pattern. Taking 2 more rounds of this box breathing, whether that your in-breath and hold, your out-breath and your hold are the same length, or the pauses are still shorter. Work with what your body is asking for today, or what your body is capable of. When you've completed the last round, let your breathing return to normal. And any time you want to practice this box breathing through the practice today or through your life, just let yourself become calm and sink into the softness of that breath practice. Again, remembering that it's not a firm hold when the breath is paused, it's just a soft cessation, and then you let the breath continue. So there's no clenching or gripping through the throat, through the lungs, through the esophagus. And then from here, we're going to exhale and take the head down to one side. Doesn't matter which way you go. Dropping the head to one side. Feel the stretch down the side of the neck. If you liked the box breathing, you can certainly drop back into that style of breathing now. Simply focus on even inhalation and exhalation. You can keep the head where it is, or you can tilt the chin slightly more in the direction of the shoulder that the head is heading towards. So we now change the angle of stretch to get that space between the back of the neck and the side of the neck. As you next inhale, gently bring yourself back up to center, and then we're going to head straight into the other side. And it might feel a little bit harder to begin with, a little bit less flexible. We were in the other pose a wee while, and the body acclimatized to being there. So don't feel that you've got to force your head into the same angle you were at before. Simply let the weight of the head drop to the side and allow the body the time to gently begin to open. And then tilting the chin towards that same shoulder so that the stretch changes to be the space between the back of the neck and the side of the neck. And as you inhale, bring your head back up to center. Bring the arms up and take the fingertips to the shoulders with the thumbs at the back of the shoulders and the fingers towards the front. And then begin to circle your elbows. Making circles in one direction, feeling the shoulder blade moving. Thinking about the median nerve that runs down the arms. Imagine that it is freeing up, not getting trapped in any muscles. It's moving and got space as it should. There's nothing preventing its optimal functioning. And then pause and change direction, circling the elbows the other way. And coming to stillness, opening the arms out to either side and bringing them back to the hands back to touch the shoulders. Opening the arms and then flexing. One more time, opening out and bringing back in. And take your hands in front of you, interlock your hands, push the palms away from you, and inhale, raise the arms up. Stay in stillness for a moment, noticing what's happening through the shoulders. Are you wearing your shoulders like earrings? Do you need to let the shoulders relax a little away from the ears so your neck has space? And then begin to make some little circles. The circles might be really tiny, helping to floss the nerves that innervate our arms. Pause and change direction, circling the other way. And then coming to stillness, releasing the arms down. Change the position of your legs. If you've been in cross-legged position, it was quite a long time. To stretch the legs out, bring some life to those legs by circling the ankles in one direction and then the other. Maybe pedaling the feet backwards and forwards. We're going to come up to a kneeling position rather than a cross-leg position. If you can't kneel comfortably, just return to a cross-leg position instead. Inhale, take the arms up. And as you exhale, one arm comes down beside you, the other arm past the ear. Inhale, up and through. Exhale to the other side. Taking your time, it's not always the fastest to open up areas of the body that are used to being a little compressed. As we move through our days, our side body can tend to shorten as gravity takes its toll. With our yoga practice, we are trying to bring ourselves into shapes that we don't normally inhabit. It can be a little uncomfortable at times, but we're trying to bring different shapes into the body, making us more flexible. The lateral flexion of the spine and side body opening is not something that's available to us in our everyday activities unless we purposely go out of our way to do it. One more time to each side. And as you inhale, bring yourself back to center. Take the hands behind the back, interlock the hands, and then bring the little fist package to one side of your body. Lifting through the chest, opening across the collarbones, and moving the elbows towards each other behind you. Keep the belly a little soft. Try not to push the belly forward. You can have lift in the chest, but keep the belly in a straightish line. As you exhale, release the hands, take them back behind you. Change the interlock if you can with the other little finger underneath. And then bring that fist package to the other side of the torso. Lifting through the chest, elbows working towards one another behind you. Soft belly, but not a pushed out belly. Nice deep breaths. As you next exhale, release the hands and then re-interlock them behind you the first way. Inhale, lift the chest, and as you exhale, fold forward, keeping the shoulder tips from dropping down towards the earth. Keep them lifted back behind you as though you try and take your shoulder blades together. You can rest your head on the floor, working the arms away from your spine. Inhale, bring yourself back up to center. Change the interlock of your hands. Give your arms a break if you need to before you go into the other side. Inhale, lift the chest. And exhale, descend, keeping the heads of the shoulders from dropping forward. We want to keep them lifted. Keep the space for the neck. Support the head, the forehead either on the floor or onto a blanket or block. As you next exhale, lifting yourself back up to center, releasing your hands and rolling the shoulders one direction and then the other. We're going to come into cat-cow, but we're going to do it slightly differently, where the head works in opposition to what we're used to it working, trying to change the pressure in the spinal cord. So coming onto your hands and knees. Normally when you inhale and let the belly come down, you lift the head. Drop the head instead when you come into cow pose. And then as you exhale and lift the belly button up towards the spine, lift the head a little. Don't force it. It's quite an intense movement, so be quite gentle. Belly comes down on the inhalation, head drops. Exhalation, belly lifts and head lifts. It's a strange feeling, and it can take a little bit of time to get used to this movement. But then once you have it, it starts to feel a little bit more natural. You can feel the work going on in upper trapezius as you try to lift the head while in cat pose. On an exhalation, we come into cat by lifting the belly, but we also try and lift the head a little bit. On an inhalation, the belly comes down into cow and the head drops. A couple more times here. Noticing if it's beginning to feel more comfortable. Last time into cat. And then from cat, sink your buttocks back towards your heels, stretch your arms out. And then inhale, bring yourself up into more traditional cow pose with the head lifted, the belly dropped. Exhale, pull the belly up, round the back, drop the head and drop the tail back for child's pose. Inhale up to cow pose. Transitioning through these two poses, working in time with your own breath. Using Ujjayi Pranayama, if that's part of your practice, to help encourage the breath to be long and steady. One more time, inhaling up to cow pose, then exhaling back to child. Pause here in child's pose. I'm going to open the side body, walking the hands towards one side of your mat, stretching out, breathing into that side that's open. Encouraging the lungs to fill as much as you can. Feeling the breath opening the side waist. Stretching out the intercostal muscle. And the next inhalation, bring the hands back through center and exhale them to the other side. Notice how different it might feel on this side. What can you do to help encourage that stretch along the side body? Sinking the hips back or reaching a hand forward. Keeping the shoulders quite stable with the humerus bones tucked into their socket. As you inhale, bring yourself back to center, lifting up onto your knees and coming up into an upright kneeling position. As you inhale, raise the arms up. And as you exhale, lower the arms down, taking the hands towards the sacrum and exhaling, bowing forward. Inhale, lifting up, raising the arms up. Exhale, arms come down, bowing forward. You can keep going with this variation, or if you'd like to increase the intensity, on the exhalation, let the arms stretch out in front of you and bow forward that way. And then inhale, bring your arms back beside you to lift and raise them. So choosing which variation you go for, either the arms outstretched or the arms to the sacrum as you bow forward. The inhalation is with the arms out to each side so that you're not putting too much pressure on your body. Inhale up and exhale down. One more time. And when you come down, let yourself sink into child's pose. Allowing the arms to rest down beside you. Relaxing the shoulders. Seeing if you can notice your heartbeat. On your next inhalation, begin to lift yourself back up through tabletop, tucking the toes under, lifting the knees, and coming up into downward dog. Taking your heels nice and high, lifting the heels, lifting the buttocks, pushing into the thumb side of the hand. And as you exhale, let one heel come down towards the floor, bending the opposite knee. And slowly change sides. So one heel at a time, dropping towards the earth. Stretching out the calf muscles. Feel that space of the calves elongating and opening. And coming to stillness, let your knees bend a little and come forward into a rounded plank pose. Bend the knees further and take the buttocks back into down dog. And then keep moving forward so that you've got this swaying action with the spine rounding into plank pose and extending into down dog. Cycling in a circular motion between these two poses. If you need to, you can always come down into child's pose and transition from cow pose to child instead. So if this variation is too strong. And then from here, let the knees come down to the earth and come all the way down onto your belly. Bring your hands to rest underneath your forehead. And take a couple of breaths here. And stretch the arms out along the floor. And as you inhale, lift your head, raise your right arm and raise your left leg. As you exhale, lower them down. Inhale, lift the left arm and the right leg. Exhale, lower. Keep moving between the two sides. Encouraging the muscles at the back of the body to engage. Moving with your breath. One more time to each side. And as you next inhale, sliding the elbows underneath the shoulders. Let the belly relax. Find a place where the shoulder girdle can be as relaxed as possible. Often that means having the elbows slightly in front of the shoulders, but in the same line as the shoulders. The palms can be on the floor in more traditional Sphinx, or you can bring the hands together. Let the belly soften. Let the legs be relaxed against the earth, perhaps a little wider apart, a little closer together, depending on what's comfortable for you. What brings you a slightly different sensation to what you're used to in this pose? Breathe into the space at the lower back, all the spaces between each of those vertebrae. Imagine what's happening to the spinal column as you come into this gentle extension. What's happening to the spinal cord that comes down the center of that spinal column. Let your gaze be soft. Keep the breath moving. Keep the belly soft. When we tighten our belly, we're taking the focus into the front of our body and away from the back of the body. When the belly is soft, it lets our connective tissues, particularly the fascial sacs that surround the muscles down the length of the spine, to get the stimulation. And that's the area we want to focus on in these slower, more yin style poses. As the intensity begins to relax or release, start to get a little easier to stay here. Is there less sensation in the lower back? The next few breaths, maybe try bending your knees, either bringing the heels towards your buttocks or keeping the legs perpendicular to the floor. That brings a little more intensity into the lower back. And if it's too much, return the shins to the earth. As you next exhale, return the shins to the floor if you haven't done so already. And we're going to walk our elbows a little further under us, lifting up and taking our time to come into child's pose. Big toes touching, knees a little apart. Use your stacked fist to support your forehead. We're transitioning between an extension to a flexion. So you want to take your time. Now the two opposite movements that the spine can work in, forward and back. Let the forehead rest onto the stacked fists. Take a couple of breaths here and then maybe move one fist out and release down into that slightly lower angle. And then as you feel ready to, perhaps both hands get taken away. Maybe you rest your arms beside you or somewhere out to the side. Consciously send your breath and your attention into your lower back. Notice how it feels in this pose. And when the sensations begin to dissipate, you know you're ready to move on to the next. As you next inhale, begin to lift yourself back into tabletop. And from here, we're going to step our right foot forward between our hands. This is where your blocks can come in handy. If you have them and you'd like to use them, you can pop them under your hands for a bit of support. They can be on the low setting, or they could be on the medium. Some people might actually need them for the second pose we're going to go into on the high setting. Take a moment to let yourself get set up here so that the ankle is underneath the knee, taking the pressure off our joints and letting it work everything in between the joints instead. Let yourself sink into the hips. Feel the hip flexor of that back leg extending. You may be able to feel the outer crease of that front hip. And then from here, we're going to pull our hips backward, coming into half monkey. You might find you need to wriggle your foot a little bit further forward to get the orientation in the leg. Picking the sole of the foot off the floor and pointing the toes up towards the ceiling. Inhale, lift the chest up here, looking forward. And as you exhale, let yourself fold a little, bending through the elbows, either using the blocks or fingertips to the earth. So it depends on your body if you need assistance or not. Inhale to lift and lengthen the front body. Exhale, fold a little. Inhale to lift. Exhale, fold. And then we're going to transition between those two poses. So on the inhalation, bring yourself forward into the lunge. Don't worry if your knee's behind the ankle, that's fine. And exhale, pull yourself back into half monkey. Inhale forward into the lunge. Exhale back into half monkey. We're flossing our sciatic nerve here. You may be able to get a sense of the piriformis, or that maybe even the gluteal muscles working in the buttocks of that right cheek. Simply notice what you notice, observing your body. And if moving between these two poses doesn't feel like it's a benefit to you, you can pause in one of the poses, take a couple of breaths, and then move into the other variation for a few more breaths. When you next come forward, be still for a moment. Find a position where the palms of the hands are planted. Tuck the back toes under. We're actually going to fly that right leg back behind us, coming into three-legged down dog. Only lifting it as high as you comfortably can. Take a couple of lifts and lowers through your left heel, getting into the calf muscle, waking that up, encouraging the soleus to return the venous blood to the heart. And then exhale, release the right foot down, back onto your knees, and stepping the left foot forward this time. Taking time to set yourself up, sinking into the low lunge with the ankle below the knee. You can be on your fists, you can be on your palms, you can be on your fingertips, you can be on the blocks. So find the right place for you and let the body acclimatise to being here. And we're going to gently pull back with the hips. Maybe shimmy that left foot forward slightly and peel the sole of the foot off the floor. Lifting the chest forward, using your blocks will help with that lift, particularly if you're a little bit tight in your hamstrings. As we did in the low lunge position, staying for a moment in this half monkey pose, perhaps exhaling the elbows out a little to fold forward and inhaling to lift. A slight bit of movement happening, increasing the sensation. And to work into that flossing of the sciatic nerve. Inhale to bring yourself forward. It's fine for the ankle to be in front of the knee here. And exhale to pull back into half monkey. Using your blocks under the hands if that helps. And staying up on your fists if the wrists or fingers are getting tired. Moving forward on the inhalation and pulling back on the exhalation. Notice how the body is starting to acclimatise to this movement. Perhaps allowing you to fold a little more deeply over that left leg as you come back into half monkey. One last time into half monkey. Returning to low lunge, plant the hands, tuck the back toes under and lift the knee, and then fly that left leg up in the air behind you. Focus comes onto the right leg, lifting and lowering the heel. And the gastrocnemius and soleus to work strongly in that standing leg. Lowering the left foot down to the floor. Walk your hands and feet towards one another, coming into forward fold. Take the feet a comfortable distance apart for you, which is around hip point distance. Hold the elbows with the opposite hand and let yourself hang forward, maybe putting a bend in your knees and perhaps having a little sway from side to side. Lengthening the back of the neck. And as you inhale, straightening the legs, fingertips to the shins, looking forward. As you exhale, fold. Inhale, fingertips to shins, lifting and lengthening the spine. Exhale, fold. And one last time, inhale, lengthening forward. And then exhale, fold. Take your hands down to the floor. We're going to lift the left leg back behind us. Coming into standing splits position. As you exhale, bend your top knee and bring your bottom knee to tap the back of that knee. So your bending the standing leg, then bending in the extended leg to tap the front of the extended leg to the back of the standing leg. Slowly moving between these two. It's quite a strong action. Only do as many as you comfortably can. And then from here, releasing the left leg down to the floor, the left foot. Pause for a moment. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, fold. And take the right leg back behind you. On an exhalation, bending both the knees, the top leg tapping the back of the bottom leg. And stretching up again, straightening both legs. Bending both legs, tapping and straightening. 3 or 4 more times. When you need to stop, or if your body has had enough, return to that forward fold. 1 more time if you can. And then exhale the right foot down to the floor. Inhale, lift the chest, look forward, lengthening the spine. Exhale, fold. We're going to step our right foot forward and our back foot back. Coming into high-ish lunge. Planting the left hand. Inhale, raise the right arm up. And take a couple of breaths here. Opening into easy twist. You can keep your back knee on the floor if you'd like to. It doesn't need to be lifted. Exhale, lowering the right hand down, stepping back into down dog. And taking a few of those circling cycles into plank pose and then into down dog. So the pelvic bone is moving. We're tilting it forward and tilting it back as the knees bend and straighten, as the shoulders come forward and move backward. Finding your own flow and rhythm and working with your breath. And when you're ready to step the left foot forward between the hands, keep the right hand planted. Right knee can be off the floor or down if you need to for support, and lift the left arm up, opening the body to the left, facing the direction of that front bent knee. As you exhale, release the arm down, stepping back into down dog. And then either staying in down dog for a wee break or coming down into child's pose. Knees to the floor, arms beside you, forehead resting on the earth. You choose your rebound here, whether you want to be active or passive. As you inhale, begin to lift the head and the chest, moving your buttocks off to one side, or if you were in down dog, bringing your knees to the earth, and then taking the legs in front of you. On the stretched out position, bend the knees up and cross your legs, right shin in front of left. Make sure you're comfortable here. Use a blanket under your seat, under your sitting bones. If you don't feel like you can comfortably keep length in your spine. You're going to inhale, raise the arms up. And as you exhale, twist to the right. Inhale, come back to center, raising the arms up. And exhale, twist to the right again. One last time, inhale, raise the arms up. And exhale, twist to the right. You can use a block behind you, underneath that right hand for a little bit of support. And fingertips to the floor. Your head can be neutral in line with your chest, or turn to look over your right shoulder. Relax the belly. Feel the breath slowing as we move into more yin-like poses. Softly staying and a twist. Each of the vertebrae along the spinal column a little revolved, changing their orientation, getting the synovial fluid into as many spaces as possible, helping to keep the lubrication along that spinal cord, encouraging the health of the nerves. And with these practices, when we slow, we're moving our body from a state that could be in a more fight or flight state into a more rest and digest, from the sympathetic nervous system into the parasympathetic, which is the place we should be operating a lot of the time. Couple more breaths here. As you inhale, gently bring yourself back to the front. Keep the space between the front of the two shoulders, and then exhale, slowly begin to fold forward. You can bring your hands down in front of you. You can support your body with your hands, or maybe you can take your forearms to the earth. Let the hips, let the gluteal muscles relax. We flossed the sciatic nerve earlier. Now we're placing just gentle stimulation around the space that it travels down the legs. See what you're able to let go of here. Try to resist holding, tightening, tensing. It's not always possible to let go entirely. So do what you can, what is right for you in this moment, in this practice. We often find tension creeping into our pose as the body sinks a little deeper. What you might be able to let go of. Notice what you can become consciously aware of. And as you next inhale, begin to lift yourself back upright, bringing the knees up, stretching the legs out. Give yourself a little massage around the gluteal and rotator area if you need it. Moving the feet or the legs, perhaps doing some windshield wipers in and out. Whatever feels good for you as a release and a rebound between sides. I'm going to return to that cross-legged position. This time the left shin is in front though. And if cross legs isn't a thing for you, or you can cross one and not the other, then go with the shape that works for you. Don't force yourself to be in cross-legged position if your anatomy doesn't allow it. Inhale, raise the arms up. As you exhale, twist to the left this time. Inhale, chest to front, arms lifting. Exhaling, twisting to the left. One more time. Inhale, arms lifting. Exhale, twist to the left. Let your back hand support you, but lift away from it. So you're not dropping back towards that back hand, keeping the spine lengthened. Rotating along that axis of the spine, keeping the space between the shoulders broad. Softening the belly, finding an appropriate position for you, for your head, whether that's in line with your chest or looking over your left shoulder. As you next inhale, begin to bring yourself back to the front. Take a breath in here, broadening across the front of the collarbones, and then exhale, begin to walk yourself forward. Perhaps resting the weight of your torso in your hands if you need it, or if you're able to fold deeper, take the forearms or elbows to the earth. Use support under the arms if you need to. Nourish your body. We're not trying to force it into a shape, but allow it to be in that shape. Relax the shoulders. Which parts of your body are gripping? Which parts of your body can you encourage to soften? As you inhale, and to prepare yourself for movement. And exhale, start to lift yourself back up to center. Bringing your knees up. We're going to come around to lie on our backs. Let yourself lie down on the floor, on your mat. You can stretch out the legs for a moment. Feel the release around that hip, glutes, backs of the knees. Nice to have the legs straight. And bending your knees. Bring your left leg in towards your body. Interlock your fingers behind the back of the left thigh and stretch the left foot up towards the ceiling. Heel is pushing up, toes are pulling down. You can use your hands to place a little bit of traction on the back of the leg. Breathing into that back space, that area that some people feel that they're getting sciatica, when that nerve is trapped or uncomfortable. This is quite a good pose to do at the end of the day. With one leg up the frame of the door and the bent leg into the doorway. You can rest the heel against the wall and move the toes down, but there's not too much strain that way. From here, we're going to come into a supine twist. So stretch the right leg away, maybe move the hips a little to the left, and then bring that the left foot all the way down to the floor. You can hold on to that leg with your right hand. Feel the openness through the back and side of the leg. We're stimulating the urinary bladder channel and the gallbladder channel that run along those two spaces. And all the muscles and the fascia that connect in there. If you can't reach your left foot all the way to the floor, you can take some height underneath it, but make sure it's supported on something. And if having a straight left leg is too intense, you can bend that leg, but it will reduce the sensation around this area of the thigh. Find a place for the left arm to rest. It could be directly up beside you. You could be in cactus arm or straight arm. You might prefer to have the hand resting at the waist. You might prefer to circle the arm around the head. Sometimes it's nice just to try a slightly different position than what you normally have. To bring a different orientation to the shoulder. And for the last minute in this pose, let that leg relax. Let the knee bend. You're taking a bit of the pressure off the knee and off the thigh. If you'd like to, you can bend up the bottom leg and take hold of it with the left hand, or stay in a single leg twist. As you next exhale, release the hold on your foot if you have it, and gently turn yourself onto your back, bringing the knees in towards your chest, hugging the knees in, circling or rocking. We're going to come into the other side. So let the left foot come to the floor and take the right leg up towards the ceiling, interlocking your hands behind the back of that right thigh. Relax the shoulders, relax the shoulder blade. Push up with the heel and descend with the toes. You can, if you want to, return to the box breathing we did at the start of the class. Let the weight of both sitting bones sink down, both hips. Sacrum level on the floor. From here, we're going to come into that supine twist, stretching the left leg away from you, or maybe moving the hips a little to the right first. Then stretch that left leg away. Bring the right leg all the way across the body to the right-hand side. Let the foot, the inside of the foot, rest on the floor, and the hands support the leg. Or if the foot can't come to the floor, support it instead on a blanket, a cushion, a bolster, a block. And you find a place for the right arm to be, out to the side, in cactus, circling the head, resting at the waist. Find that place that works for you, and that is maybe something a little different to what you normally do. With a rotation through the length of your spine. Which are the vertebrae that you feel are getting the most benefit from this twist? The last minute in this pose, if you'd like to bend your right leg, let it rest comfortably against the floor. And then maybe you bring yourself into cat pulling its tail by bending up the bottom leg and taking hold of that foot with the right hand. And maybe you stay where you are. As you next exhale, releasing yourself out of this pose, making your way onto your back. Hug your knees into your chest. And when you're ready to, set yourself up for Shavasana. Stretching the legs out away from you. Using height under the backs of your knees or head if it's needed. Take a blanket to cover yourself. Let everything sink down towards the floor. Let yourself be completely caught at the top of the earth. The hands, the fingers, the toes, the feet, wriggling and relaxing. The ankles, the wrists, the elbows, the knees, the hips, the shoulders, the head, the whole body sinking down into the earth. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just breathe. Releasing your focus on your breathing. Begin to prepare the body for movement. Starting small, wriggling fingers and toes. Building up till you can stretch out all of your limbs, your arms and your legs. Waking up the torso. Waking up the mind. And then bend the knees, either hug them in towards your chest or roll to your side. And then make your way up to sitting. Bringing the hands together in prayer position in front of the heart space in honor of your practice. Namaste.